Afternoon world. It's moments past noon in Waxahachie, Texas, deep in the heart of the Lone Star State. Today is October 15th, ninth episode. We're soon going to be double digits, the ninth episode of Grit and Good News.
Yep.
We're broadcasting live from our, can I say palatial studio?
Yes, you can.
Second story studio in historic downtown Waxahachie in the shadows of the Ellis County Courthouse. And I am your co-host, Jeff Lynch. It gives me great pride, pleasure, and honor to introduce our host, my friend, Scott Brooks.
Thank you, Bud. Thank you.
Surely.
You wanted to get to something before we jumped into our set, right?
Yes. My dear wife, Rita, who is a good football fan and a Stars Cowboys season ticket holder, and not a fan of Dak Prescott, and neither am I, although I know you are.
Yes.
And we're watching this freaking debacle the other day against Detroit. And she says, and we've been talking about the fact that just earlier he had shown these pictures of demolishing his 8,800 square foot mansion.
Yeah.
And because it didn't, even though they bought it, it didn't really feel like our house because we hadn't built it. And so he's going to build a new one out there. And she said, well, and then that night we're watching Ohtani for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And you know what he did when he signed that big contract, $200 million, and he
700 million.
said, I just want $2 million this year, and let's defer a ton of money
Yeah.
so we can have better players around me. And then I was telling this to somebody else, and they said, well, yeah, that's what Tom Brady did when he went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you got a 48-man roster, and you got a lot of grunts that are important to your team. They're making $1 million, $2 or $3, and they talk about how great a leader Dak is. I'm telling you what, that would be leadership. So
yeah,
dude,
we do need to have a whole segment on the Cowboys and Dak.
no, we'll
At some
lose
point
our
we do.
crowd if we do that.
Well, no, we might gain a few who want to weigh in. Maybe we'll have a venting session about the Cowboys, because this morning I was just reading earlier, Jerry Jones got into it with the fan 105.3 this morning. He got into it with the host who were calling him out for essentially what kind of mess did you create here and what's going on. And Jerry Jones, matter of fact, he threatened, I don't know if he owns the fan or is part of the radio station or whatever, but he threatened them.
Well, they're
with their
part
job.
of Cumulus Media.
Okay, well, yeah,
The deal is that is the FM version of 820.
Yeah,
where
WBAP.
where they have the game.
Yeah, so
and they have the game on FM.
Yeah, so but it evidently got ugly. Anyway, we'll save this topic for another day. I am a Dak fan and a Mike McCarthy fan. I know I stand in the minority, but one of these days. Anyway, so here we are. We've got a number of things to talk about today. I want to remind you all that we have we do Grit and Good News every Tuesday and Thursday, beginning at noon, ends at 1:00 sharp. We enjoy doing it. Jeff and I are pals, and we have great interest in our community, in our state, and in our world, our country. We think of ourselves as deep thinkers, critical thinkers, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. But this show is designed really for us to have a local place that we can talk about things and be safe. So we welcome your thoughts. We welcome your calls. You can see our phone number up there above Al the elephant. So that's our phone number. If you want to tell them, Jeff, you always have that, but
I keep it handy.
Jeff has it right here. So
972-268-9441. That is 972-268-9441. And obviously, if you're watching us on any of the platforms, you knew how to get there. But Scott likes to remind you of all the ways that you can be seen.
Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We have a screen in front of us that lets us see the comments in real time. Instagram, folks, we can't see your comments the way we're set up. So if you want to make a comment, please go to our Facebook page. You can see the show there. We will see those comments immediately. So we love having that back and forth. And our show has grown, continues to grow, and the comments are getting better every show.
And on YouTube or Facebook, you can come back and watch
later on.
Later shows. Those other ones are
Yep.
strictly live.
Yeah, we've been somewhere up around 1,000 views of our show after the show's over. And so
Facebook's our leader
that's
right
nice.
now.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for being here. We have a blast, and largely because you all are here, and this show is for you. So today we want to talk about a few things that are kind of cover the spectrum of thought. The first is politics. Of course, we're 3 weeks away from our election. People calling this the most what's the most importance, one word, but the other words to describe the importance of this election. I agree. So that's rapidly on us. As a result, we're going to talk about a number of things related to politics. One is that Tim Walz recently came out, and Sammy's going to put up a video that shows him advocating that we get rid of the Electoral College. So, and we want to talk about that so that we really understand what that means. Sammy, let's see what you got. Got it?
That the campaign's position is clear, that's not their position. Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in, matters.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign, and my position is the campaign's position.
Yeah. Sharon said she can't hear that, Sam. So did you hear any of it? JR 2304 says Kamala is cooked. I would probably agree with you there. Anyway, the Electoral College was set up at the founding of this country. We are not a democracy. We hear about that all the time. We hear about it from those who say that Trump is a threat to democracy, blah, 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 blah. We're a constitutional republic, meaning that we're not ruled by simple majority. And the Electoral College is set up so that we have a fair system in which people, regardless of where they live, at least the states, have a say in who is elected president of the United States. And I'm an advocate of the Electoral College, and we could hear it all. Okay. Same sound came in late. Okay, thank you for that. Roll Tide. That's right, Roll Tide. But anyway, the Electoral College, I'm an advocate for it. I don't believe we ought to move away from that system ever. It has been around since the beginning of time, and it has in 227 years, the Electoral College, compared to the popular vote has been for 5 presidents that the Electoral College overrode, if you will.
Okay.
So Trump was one of them. George Bush is another. Then there are others that are way back in time. But the popular vote has resulted 5 times in a president receiving the popular vote who did not win the presidency because of the system set up by the Electoral College. So the Electoral College is really designed to be able to give people across the country, states across the country, an opportunity to weigh in and decide who is president of the United States. Imagine if we were just on a majority rule of a politician, in this case we're talking about the president of the United States, wouldn't have to go very far to campaign. They'd spend all their time in Los Angeles, San Francisco,
Right.
Chicago, New York. The people of Wyoming, Montana, Alabama, wherever wouldn't ever see or hear from a president, right?
And as we know, the electoral system is based on the size of each state, right?
It is. Yeah. So
no, it's the population of each state, not the size. There's your key. Okay.
I would thought you meant size in terms of population, right?
Okay. So, in what does the electoral system parallel?
What?
It parallels the House of Representatives. It's the same ratios.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest number of House of Representatives gets the most number of electoral votes. So when the wise men created our country, they said we have to have two methods to provide equality. One is that every state gets 2 senators. Okay, we're all equal on states. Big states, little states, big populations, little populations, you only get one. Okay. House of Representatives is based on population. So now you got two parts of Congress, one each way. Tell me, what's the more powerful half of Congress?
Mhm.
Senate or representatives?
Well, representatives have the representatives have, how many of them are there? 450 something. So, I mean, they control purse strings, but you're going to make an argument for Senate, right?
Who gets the last vote?
Yeah, well, you're
Okay.
right. Yeah.
So I would say this, Tim, our man from the land of 10,000 lakes, or when I go up there frequently, I like to call it 10,000 Lagos. Remember this: your state gets its fair share the same way everybody gets its fair share. And if you want more electoral votes and you want more representatives, you do away with your cold winters. You do away with your um, way of doing business in that state in a very liberal fashion. Yeah, I'll tell you what you do. You get all of California to move to Minnesota instead of Texas. And that's, you know what? I'm onto something there.
Yeah, well, Doug asked, what is the Electoral College and how does my vote for the president have to, what does my vote have to do with it? The Electoral College is a system in which each state is Doug, I mean, as Jeff just said, is apportioned or assigned a certain number of, of electors based on the population of that state. And those folks then once the state has its elections and once the state basically says this is who we want for president, then those electors go along. In 99% of the cases, those electors say, okay, this is what our population says. This is how we're going to vote. And that college, which is a figurative college, the college then says, overall, here is how the 50 states ended up voting. By example, here's a map.
And Sam, did you pull that up? Were you able to pull something? Was it a list or a map? Okay.
No, so I've got a map here that shows how the states are assigned, what number of electors they are assigned, uh, based on their population. So, by example, California has 54 uh, delegates, if you will. Texas has 40. New Mexico has 5. Montana has 4. Pennsylvania has 19. Florida has 30. So it varies across the country.
And the smallest you can go
is 4.
and
Right.
a bunch are tied at 4.
Yeah, so this map happens to show, based on the way the country has been in many, many years. The red is obviously Democrat, blue and light blue.
Wyoming has 3. I'm sorry.
So you have
South Dakota
you can
2.
tell what states are going to, how they're going to vote. Mostly you can tell that, but the yellow are the swing states. So we hear all this energy and all this focus and attention being given to Pennsylvania, to Michigan, to Wisconsin, to New Mexico, and so on and so forth. Those are swing states. And what has happened here is you can see the number of swing states are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 swing states right now. Florida used to be one, Ohio used to be one, but those have now gone to the Republicans for the most part. So we have 7 swing states here. Now as we get closer to the election, that's why you will hear and see Harris and Trump spending so much time in these states that are designated by yellow here. Trump was just in Butler at the same place where he was the assassination attempt was. He was there the other day. So that's Pennsylvania. Many people in the political world will say, well, Pennsylvania is the most important state right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are 19 delegates there, votes in terms of how many total votes there are in the state. So these candidates are going to Pennsylvania and said, we got to have that 19. We got to have those 19. Yeah. So really the Electoral College is, here's how those people representing Texas, the electors, the delegates say, here's how my state wants to vote, and so they represent us. That's how your vote comes into play. People that are in favor of a popular vote will say, well, the Electoral College really eliminates one person, one vote kind of theory, which in some ways it might, but the Electoral College, in my opinion, is by far the better system.
Right. And you could never do away with the electoral system without doing away with the House of Representative
Well,
system,
yeah,
which, as we know,
that's right.
is evened out by the Senate. And so, Tim,
Yeah, you wouldn't have a need for if popular vote is what we went on, meaning that you have whatever the most number of votes a candidate gets is the one who wins. You really wouldn't have a need for states there wouldn't be a need for the state system as we
Exactly.
see it. The other part of it is that a popular vote would result in runoffs and all. I mean, we see it on local level. You don't get 50% of the vote in your community, but you get the majority of the vote. So say you get 40% versus your opponent who got 35%, but neither one of you got 50, there has to be a runoff. So there has to be another 30 days later, another election, a runoff election. That's the last thing this country needs is some prolonged, very fraud susceptible system to cause more problems.
But Tim, you are smarter than the founding fathers, and I'm going to ask you one other thing, Scott. Are you getting a little hungry?
Oh yes, I am. Matter of fact, we have our sponsors. We've been talking about our sponsors. We're thrilled with our sponsors. The first one up is Cancun's. Cancun's is a Tex-Mex restaurant about 2.5 miles north of 287 on 77. So that's the center of town. You go about 2.5 miles north. It's on the left. My wife and I eat there all the time, and we love it. And so Cancun's, if you spend $20 at Cancun's right now, you get a free appetizer of sopapillas. You have to go to our app called Down Home and get your coupon, but you can get you a free order of sopapillas, which are awesome, and have your dessert there at the restaurant or take them home with you. I would recommend eating there at the restaurant. But Cancun's is a wonderful place to have your lunch, dinner, breakfast. We love it, and we're convinced you will too.
Amen.
Right? All right. So let's talk about Kamala Harris. And I can never say her name right. I know people struggle with it. Yes, he said, "Are you getting a little hungry, Doug?" I am, come to think of it. But Kamala Harris was on 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago on ABC. Is that ABC or CBS? I can't remember, but it's one of the three networks. 60 Minutes, and was I think it was CBS, was caught. The quintessential essence of fraud, if you ask me, was caught editing the video of an interview with Kamala Harris and was busted for it. So we're going to try it again here and see if everybody can hear this. But here's the interview. You'll hear the first one, you'll hear the real one and her answer, and then you'll hear the one that was manipulated, edited, and changed. And we're going to talk about that. But just take a look at this if you haven't seen it already.
Here is ABC deliberately and deceptively editing a clip that turns Kamala Harris from weak and incoherent to strong and decisive. Watch the original clip that they posted that was widely mocked, followed by the version that went to air on Monday night. See if you can spot the not-so-subtle difference.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Here is ABC deliberately.
Okay, there you go. So you heard the actual interview question and Kamala Harris's answer, which was typical Kamala Harris, gobbledygook, stumbling all over herself, slobbering, drooling, all that stuff, and trying to answer the question. Then You see in the second one a more concise, direct response. So there are lots of questions in here, and Jeff and I have talked about this. We're going to talk about it more. We really want to hear your thoughts about it. But first of all, at its basic core, this is a long time network. Been around ever since I've been alive.
One of the big three.
And it is directly in our face manipulating an interview with Kamala Harris, the candidate they want to be chosen as president, so as to help her in her race. So it's as simple. It's fraud. There's no way of getting around it. It's fraud. It's unethical. It's immoral. It's disgusting. It's absurd. Sharon says, big media doctoring her words. People wake up. The right decision is Trump. Connect the Dots says, gobbledygook. What about Trump? Is he? No, he's
Gracious.
look,
No,
he is.
we're not implying that in any way.
No. I would never say Trump is perfect. I would say that if you ask Trump a question about the war, he's already given the answers multiple times. So this isn't about whether Trump is perfect. Trump is far from perfect. The point of this is about a network altering a response of a candidate that they should just be covering without bias and letting us make our own decisions. This is about them changing up the answer. So the question I have is, do you think so we know that's an interview that was long. It has to be edited down so as to fit into their show. So the questions I have are, besides why did you do it, and why can't you just report the news like you're supposed to report the news? The questions are: was her answer in the second example, the answer that she didn't give to the question in the interview, was that taken from another portion of the interview, the portion that was edited and didn't make the final cut, or did they ask Kamala Harris to hang around and let's try that again, give a more forceful answer, and let the chips fall where they may? What do you think about?
Well, I'm really going for the second. And when you produce a TV show or a movie show, and the guys don't do it right, they go cut, and then they run it again. So that now when you're seeing the movie, you're seeing the 38th cut of a particular scene, and that's fine. And we watch a lot of television where that happens, and that's fine, and you get a nice, clean, finished product. But I mean, this kind of makes me question everything about 60 Minutes, which I always really had a lot of respect for, and that is not a place to be doing that.
I couldn't agree more. A little short story here. My mother, who I adored, was tragically killed in 1991 on October the 12th. Matter of fact, just a few days ago. What would that be now? 33 years later. I'm reminded of in the trial to prosecute the person responsible for my mother's death, the defense attorney took an answer of an interview, of a deposition, took an answer to a question that, when applied to another question in the deposition, made his client look better, look favorable. And the district attorney caught it and said, wait a minute, you're taking an answer from one part of an interview and applying it to the question in another part of the interview, which is unethical and really should be sanctioned. That's exactly what 60 Minutes did. They didn't allow us to just see what Kamala Harris had to say. They manipulated it for us to believe or to think or to see that she answered it in a different way that they believed was more appealing.
And how did that work out for that
attorney? It didn't work out. Yeah. Well, his client got convicted. So now, as should be the case, and as I would be clamoring for, we want to see the transcripts. Particularly people on the right are asking for, let us see the transcript so that we know exactly what 60 Minutes did. Did you take an answer to a question, apply it to the question totally unrelated to this? Did you play games? Did you take an answer here apply it to a question over here. Did you do that? Or did you have the
Right.
vice president hang around and say, let's do this again, answer it in a more forceful way, and we'll make sure that that's what we put out. We want to see the transcript, so then we'll know. We can talk about all this all day long. We want to see the transcript.
And does that reinforce what we have said and what many conservatives say about the bias of the media?
It does. Well,
Yes.
it certainly proves it. There's no CBS or 60 Minutes hasn't been able to defend it, but 60 Minutes has also said ostensibly that we're not going to give you we're not putting out the transcript. So why not? I mean, I can tell you,
Yeah.
if our show, which has transcripts to it, if somebody questioned us about what we said,
One take, baby.
and said, well, we want to see the transcript, we'll send the transcript right away. We don't have anything to hide. But 60
We're only
Minutes,
going through this once.
yeah, 60 Minutes won't
Twice a
provide
week.
it.
That's what we do.
So I guess I just, for those, regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, why can't we all just say that is wrong?
Yeah.
Why can't we say that is fraudulent? Why can't we say that is the antithesis of what the media is supposed to do?
Supposed to be all about.
And why can't we say that?
Why can't we? And that goes back to we had one of my poems that I did a few weeks ago was called "The Paper." It's the second one. It was the first one that I ever sent to the Waxahachie paper. It was put in the paper, and it was written on April 27th of 2021, and it's in my latest book. It's in a couple other books, and the line that when we started talking about this, I thought of this paragraph that George B. Dealey, yes, of Dealey Plaza fame, founded the Dallas Morning News in 1885, and his founding principle was that the newspaper must acknowledge the right of the people to get from the newspaper both sides of every important issue. This is not a new problem, but it is out of control now. Okay?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I just don't know. We're going to talk about a few things here related to this in a minute that I really like some people's opinions on. But I don't understand why our communities, why good, honest, decent people simply can't agree, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, that what CBS 60 Minutes did is wrong, dead wrong. And we ought to reject it. We ought to deny it. We ought to refuse it. And somebody ought to pay for what they did. And that somebody is a network that, you're right, used to be that we could watch it and say, okay, well, that's good for me to know. Now I'm not going to watch it because I don't know what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
So that's a problem, and it's unfortunate that it happened. So we have another sponsor. This way we'll plug it. Yeah, it's time for our sponsor.
But we got 1 minute until that other sponsor.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is something we're going to have in a full segment on, but I want you all to write down the name. Doug, how do we fix it? Well, we might fix it by getting the left wing out of there right now. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I will say this: we fix it in part by doing our own little part. So to connect the dots, which that person's been with us many times, and
Right.
great respect for them. I would just ask that you, in this case, agree with the premise that what 60 Minutes did was wrong. If they did it with Trump, I would sit right here and say the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, there have been times when I have said Trump just that's wrong for him to do that or to say that. So we do it by recognizing it's wrong, and then for each of us with our own platforms, could be the Waxahachie Sun, Grit and Good News, or it could be in my everyday job. We stand up for the truth. It's like eating an elephant. How are you going to do it?
One bite at a time. One bite at a time.
So anyway,
we'll save this for another time.
What's that?
Well, just this whole thing from. If you get a chance, go on Facebook and look for a guy named Ron A. Hawkins, and he has a wonderful piece with an amazing interconnected weaving between top people in the media world and key Democrats. I mean, really going back mostly to Obama and Clinton era, and in the thread, it takes 2 pages, and it's quite a story, and we'll talk
Yeah,
further
we're going
about
to
it.
talk more about it. And it may be true on the right as well, in conservative circles, Republican circles. I'm sure there are a lot of connections there.
Yeah, I'm
This
sure there are
one's
too.
this one we've got to fact check before we share it with you, but it really is astonishing to see how what we all can say is the deep state, the swamp operates.
And before we go to our commercial sponsor, which our fine lady Sharon was able
Sure.
to secure for us, why don't you read her comment?
Social media has made the human race lazy in forming thoughts for themselves. They rely on people rely on being spoon-fed and eagerly eat up that information, right or wrong. People just accept it, and unfortunately, that's where we are as humans. That's where we've ended up. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. I refer to it, and Jeff does as well, as critical thinking. Where has critical thinking gone? But we have a video we want to share with you, and we have a discussion prepared for critical thinking. And to your point, really, what's happened to us having the ability to think for ourselves.
And
So
we'll
tell
get
me.
in right into that after we talk about our second sponsor of the day, Mr. Rooter. And I'll tell you something that's unique about this. It's not a unique way of doing business, but I don't know anybody doing it in the plumbing business. Mr. Rooter is from all over North America, and they've been around since 1970. So they've been in business for 54 years all over North America. But guess what? They have local ownership here in Waxahachie, Texas. So not only do you have nationwide power with local ownership, we're talking about a company that does both residential and commercial work. And I'm telling you, here's what you're going to get when you call Mr. Rooter. Licensed experts, insured plumbers, guaranteed parks and workmanship, courteous, uniformed professionals, locally owned and operated differently, and convenient appointment times. They're friendly and they're warm with every client. They arrive on time. They keep your home clean with mats and shoe covers. They provide a price before they start. They deliver high quality, durable repairs, and they stand behind their work for your peace of mind. So, in the few times that you're going to use them, they're going to stay with you. Once you use them, they will be your plumber. Did I mention? I know I didn't. That they do remodel work in addition to. You're thinking you're calling your plumber when you got a problem, but they do remodel work also, and you can get a hold of them by calling 969 214 5179 469 214 5179, or of course you can find them on the internet at mrrooter.com.
You know, the other day somebody was on, I don't know, I don't use Facebook near as much as I used to, but because of the sun and written good news and all that, we do look at Facebook every day. The other day somebody in my neighborhood in the HOA said, I need a plumber. Anybody got an idea? And I was able to just say Mr. Rooter right there. So thank you to Mr. Rooter for sponsoring Grit and Good News. We're grateful for that. This segment of our show we call, let me make sure. Yeah, he said. We don't have a she on the show, so we don't have he said, she said. But we do have he said. And that applies, really, we want to hear what you have to say. But we want to play you a video between Russell Brand, who is but a comedian. He's from the UK. He used to be far more vulgar and all that sort of thing. He's since converted to Christianity. He's having a discussion with Robert Kennedy Jr. About critical thinking. And we wanted you to hear this discussion, and then we'll have some things to say about it afterwards. Sammy, go ahead.
I now know what my junior and peripheral role is to advocate for an anti-establishment movement that has a chance to disrupt something that I feel that if it were to remain uninterrupted, could bring about an unprecedented level of control.
My whole generation grew up reading Aldous Huxley and George Orwell and Arthur Koestler and Solzhenitsyn and all these other, I would call them almost philosophers or political philosophers, who were warning us about the advent of this kind of system, that this would happen one day. And we all looked at that and said, yeah, maybe in 200 years or something like that. We all grew up reading that. We know better. And the extraordinary phenomena to me is how the capacity for critical thinking has been so overwhelmed and subverted in that entire generation that they're not seeing any of this stuff happen. And they went around along with COVID, which was just this, looked like in many ways a PSYOPs program with orchestrated fear using to disable the capacity for critical thought. Now, those same mechanisms are being used to get them to support Kamala Harris. Kamala was put in there without any pretense that she was ever elected. People who support Kamala Harris rarely do it because they support any of her policies, which are still unknown. She's never been forced to articulate them. They're supporting her because of the terror of Donald Trump, that he is going to become a dictator. It will be the end of democracy, that, the republic will be destroyed if he gets in there. You see this again and again and again. And it's created this atmosphere of kind of violence against him.
So that was a pretty deep conversation between two what are really authentic deep thinkers. Bobby Kennedy is deep into I guess the simplest way of putting it is to how the food industry in this country operates. And if you ever get a chance to just go and listen to Bobby Kennedy, he's hard to listen to because he's got that, it's an hereditary voice problem. His sister has it as well. So he's a little bit hard to listen to, but he is I don't agree with a lot of what he has to say, but certainly when it comes to food and how food is treated and what we put into our bodies, and it's an amazing thing to listen to and to learn about. He and Russell Brand are talking about critical thinking and how America has turned into a land of, at least as I see it, less critical thinking going on today than ever before, particularly given the advent of social media, which is now 20 years old. Facebook started in 2004, so we're 20 years into social media that has only proliferated. And so critical thinking has become less and less of use or in use, and it's given way to people who will just listen to what they hear anywhere and believe it to be true without stopping to think about it. So in my family, and I can be a bit obnoxious about it, but I want our kids to say, well, hang on a second. Why is it that Trump supposedly is a threat to democracy? What does that mean and why? Or did we stop to think about, in this case, Kamala Harris being the candidate for the president of the United States of America without a single vote from a single person? Now, delegates in their convention said this is who we want to be our candidate. At the last minute, she didn't campaign to ever get named to president-elect or candidate for president. She never received a vote. Matter of fact, the only time she ran for president of the United States was in 2020, and she didn't get a single vote. She dropped out before the Iowa caucuses, which is the first event for an election cycle. She dropped out. She didn't even get support from her own home state of California. Yet the too many Democrats, and I could be saying the same thing about Republicans, if it were to happen on our side, just say, okay, well, we're going to go along with it. And
Right.
I mean, there's maybe a point to which you can't do much about it, but you do have a voice and you do have a way of objecting. And there are lots of other examples about the lack of critical thinking. So thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, and let's look at the word subversion and look at the Webster's dictionary definition. Obviously, the act of subverting, but a systemic attempt to overthrow or undermine a government or political system by persons working secretly within it. And let's go back to Adolf Hitler. And was there any critical thinking going on in Germany? Germany had a lot of smart people. They make a lot of good cars. They do a lot of great things. And guess what? Those people were gone. Some of them escaped. Some of them left. A lot of them got killed.
Yeah.
And I'm not fear mongering that anything's going to happen with
Yeah.
people getting killed. But I will say this: when you subvert, when you take away critical thinking, that's the beginning of the problems.
It is. And it's obvious to me that our government, and maybe it's always been this way, but now it's far more pronounced again, given the advent and the use of social media. But Americans, fewer and fewer of us, stop to say, hang on a second, that's not how that works. And, you think of the country of North Korea. In North Korea, still puts people to death who are anti-government. But when it got rolling, somewhat to your point, Jeff, years and decades ago, it was so focused on making sure that no citizen of that country had the ability to they could think critically, but they couldn't express it.
Exactly.
They couldn't act on it, so they had to follow the government. And all they get now today, if you were to just do some research on a day in the life of a North Korean citizen, what you would find is almost robotic insofar as they are told what they can watch, how they can work, what they do with their money. There are no cars over there, but maybe a few select people in the government have vehicles. They have a beautiful country in terms of landscape and geography. They have the ability to create things, but they have to be in their home at a certain time at night. They have to march to the beat of a specific drum, if you will, and
So sad.
because they have their thought, whether it's critical or not, their thought process has been subverted altogether. In this country, we now see it's not even hidden anymore. We see an effort by the link between social media, big tech, the political class, the media class, to force feed or spoon feed whatever it is they want us to believe. Or they do what CBS did, and that is leave
It's just
certain
going to
things,
say,
they
it
leave
goes right
things
back to
out
that.
or change what you might see. Or go back to COVID. So 4 years ago, COVID was running rampant, and we were told how we should do things. We were told to get a shot. We were told by many politicians, left, right, center, whatever, that if you don't get a vaccine, you're going to die. If you don't get a vaccine, if you don't wear that stupid mask, you're going to cause somebody else to get COVID and they're going to die. And granted, people died. In many cases, it was attributed to COVID. Whether or not it was actually COVID, who knows? But we were told COVID will kill you, and if you don't get your vaccines. Well, we got vaccines. There were more boosters than you can count, and people still got the COVID and still died. But yet the strong attempt was made to make sure that we had to wear a mask. They shut down our economy. They shut down our lives. They shut down everything. And there were some who said, wait a second, this can't happen this way. But by and large, Americans just followed suit like we were sheep headed to slaughter. There are other examples where I just mentioned to you a minute ago about Harris is the candidate for president on the Democrat candidate for without ever being through the gauntlet, as it were. It was forced upon people. And if I'm on the left as a voter, I'm like that. I'm going to cause all kind of hell to the extent that I can. If I got to go to jail for it, I got to go to jail. I'm going to do it legal, and I'm going to do it nonviolently. But that's just flat out wrong. Another example of it is right now we hear all the time that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Well, what does that mean? How Donald Trump has been president for 4 years in this country. The country has never been in better better position. We were safe. We were not under attack. We were not in war. We had a strong economy. We had freedoms like never before. And now all of a sudden we're going to be told, because we don't stop to think, well, what does a threat to democracy mean? People walk around saying he's a threat to democracy. I challenge anybody that says that. Tell me what that means. He's not the threat to democracy. There are those who are a threat to democracy, but not Donald Trump. So we just get force-fed stuff, and we got to. I'm pleading with everybody, the sound of my voice, to stop doing it. To think critically about every single thing that comes across your radar. One last thing I'll say about this is that I think I've gotten to a point where I've convinced my Sunday school class that God is using people like Kid Rock, Donald Trump, and several others who we would otherwise think, no way could they be used to spread a positive, saving message in this world. I think God is using them, and it's hard when you say to somebody who has been force-fed that Trump's bad and that Kid Rock he's vulgar, he's this, he's that. There's no way he could be used for good. I'm saying, well, stop and ask yourself, is that possible? Is it possible that what we have always thought to be correct is not correct? It is wrong. Is it possible? And so that's why I'm pro Dak in Dak Prescott, because he'll say, "Oh, Dak, he sucks. He's bad. He's this. He's that." But if I showed you the stats between him and Patrick Mahomes, they're almost identical. So we'll say that for another day.
Yeah, and you know,
All right.
why do we send kids off to college? To get a liberal education. Does liberal mean to be left wing? No, liberal means thinking broadly, thinking widely, and it's all about thinking.
Yeah, that's a
college
great
teaches
example.
you to think.
It should. The academic class almost is almost as guilty as any other class about this indoctrination and this lack of critical thinking. So anyway, think critically about everything in your life, and you'll be better off. All right, Jeffrey, it's time.
What time is it?
It's time.
Tell me what time it is. Little rhyme time.
All right, brother, lay it on.
Okay. All righty. So I've been holding off on this till 3 weeks from now, but for some reason, because of what we were talking about today, I thought I'd lay it on you today. And this poem was written on October 27th, 2020, which was also a election year.
Yeah. COVID year.
It was also, of course, what do we know, Sam? You got this figured out now. What comes on the 4-year cycle? Scott?
Elections.
And the
Olympics.
Olympics. Yeah. And leap year.
Leap year. Yeah.
And leap year.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Lay it on us.
So, election. Reflection, election, dejection. These terms go hand in hand. Come November, we'll vote across this
land.
So do your civic duty, even if the choices are kind of hooty. If you don't like the choice, just be glad you have a voice. Good job, Sam. If you want to be heard, you may have to stand in a herd. We celebrate democracy, a revolt from English monarchy. Sure beats a dictatorship where the one big boss runs the ship. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. You have a chance to have your
way.
Say.
Lead.
If you want to complain, you're free to run for office. Now you're the one who must explain. We've got a mail-in vote, early vote, or go stand distance in the big line. Take your pick. I don't want to hear you whine. Here in 2020, this still applies in 2024. You may not like either ticket, but if your folks lose, please be peaceful if you decide to pick it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, it does apply whether it's 2020 or 2024. But to all of that, in addition to all of that, October 21st, which today is the 15th, so next Tuesday, I believe early voting starts. So we've only got 2 or 3 weeks before Election Day, which is November the 5th. That is a Tuesday. So we may do something a little different on that day with our show. Although it will be midday, we'll certainly have all the results on Thursday and talk about them on that Thursday the 7th.
Are you going early? Which of those are you going mail in?
I'll go down. I don't trust mail.
All right.
I'll go down and
because if you want to be heard, you're going to stand in a herd.
I'm going to see it. Yes. So anyway,
that's how I roll too.
Thank you very much. All right, now it's the fun time of our show where we, let me just say where I get to exercise, manifest, show off my day in history acumen. I think I'm on a roll here.
Acumen.
I was undefeated the other day, and then although you said that I haven't lost to you, I haven't beaten you. I have beaten you most every week.
No,
let's
roll.
Not
get carried away.
Let's roll.
Most every week. Okay, we'll go oldest to newest, as we know.
And by the way, some people still want to. I got some feedback from people saying, "Oh no, Sammy needs to be involved, and they want to be involved."
And they want to be involved. All right. Well, we'll stay that way then. Because the people have chosen. All righty. Today in history, oldest to newest. The former premier of Vichy, as in Vichy-Soix, Vichy, France, Pierre Laval, was executed for treason.
Oh, that's not good. 1892. Oh, I'll just give the real answer that I thought came right away. I don't know why, but 1894.
Well, you came right away wrong like I did too. And it was in 1945.
Oh, we're starting. We should say
quit whining and just play the game. Here we go. Nazi war criminal Hermann Göring fatally poisoned himself hours before he would have been executed. 1959?
I'm going to say 1966.
1966.
Was the right answer?
No, it wasn't at all the right answer. It was in 1946. He knew they were coming after him. The big man, Adolf, was gone.
I saw that
he said, I'm going to be the next to go.
There's a video of a guy who, in recent years, was at the table and going to hear his sentence. Just heard his sentence, and he, with his handcuffs on, he reached up and did this, and then died. Right there on camera. Poison.
Did Sharon get it right?
She had
Sharon never gets it right.
She missed the other one at 92 also, and at 52. And so I got to tell you, that was a pretty courageous way to die there, to poison yourself after you killed so many millions of people. Here we go. Hurricane Hazel made landfall on the Carolina coast as a Category 4 storm. Hazel was blamed for about 1,000 deaths in the Caribbean, 95 in the U.S., and 81 in Canada. I guess it just raged all the way up that coast.
What was the year of our last question?
Our last question, it was immaterial, but it was 1946.
Okay.
82.
I was going to say 71.
You were going to say, or you did say?
I'm saying 71.
Well, you're wrong again, because it's 54, and I got that wrong too. But can you imagine that going all the way up the coast and still killing people in Canada?
Yeah, that's
starting
big.
in the Caribbean.
Sharon missed it too.
Sharon's
lose.
Okay, the first debate of its kind took place between vice presidential nominees as Democrat Walter F. Mondale and Republican Bob Dole, faced off in Houston. Quick answer, I might say.
Wait a minute.
Mondale Dole.
76.
76, and the bonus is in effect for my friend.
Booyah.
Booyah. Okay. Despite sexual harassment allegations by Anita Hill, the Senate narrowly confirmed the nomination of Clarence Thomas to the U.S. Supreme Court, 52 to 48. That would be your classic bi-party vote.
Yes, that was one of the worst examples of humanity ever.
Oh my gosh, they dogged him.
Yeah, Sammy.
2002.
I know this answer cold. This will be 2 bonuses in a row.
Well, I got the bonus on this one also.
1991.
Correct, Amundo. Here we go.
That's another point. Yeah.
11 people were killed when a Staten Island ferry slammed into a maintenance pier. The ferry's pilot blacked out at the controls. Lady pleaded guilty to 11 counts of manslaughter. Staten Island ferry running into a maintenance pier. Staten Island is where
The
Statue of Liberty is. It ran into a pier.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Well, he had blacked out
Yeah.
at the controls. I'm sure they found that to be true.
I don't know. I'm surprised Doug didn't go back to 1864.
It's his favorite answer.
Yeah, 2005.
2003.
Booyah. Y'all are getting.
All righty.
Is this the last one?
Does it matter? Will it affect your choice?
No. No, but it might make me feel less concerned about having to get it right. But I'd get it right anyway.
Okay. Can I go?
Yep.
Trying to milk me. Actress, and activist Alyssa Milano tweeted that women who had been sexually harassed or assaulted should write "Me Too" as a status. Within hours, tens of thousands had taken up the hashtag #MeToo hashtag, using a phrase that had been introduced a decade earlier by social activists. This would be a bonus.
Male or female?
Female. I'll give you. I'm going to help you with this. You've never heard of this person.
Judd. Last name Judd.
Tarana Burke.
Oh.
Okay. So, Me Too movement. When did it start?
2019. I'm going to have to go to 2021. I'm going to say 2018.
And the answer is 2017.
Well, it's still. All right. Awesome. Is that the last one?
We are finished. I was
So-
5-3. And what is your brag record here today?
6-4 with 2 bonuses.
6-4 with 2 bonuses.
You
6
can't,
and
y'all
4.
can't. It's like me playing horse with my pal Maury. He has never, and Sammy, never beaten me in horse.
What do you mean? Never. Oh, whoa. We'd have to go back through history.
We would have to go
You
back.
have not beat me that very many times. And hang
Well,
on.
we're working on 3 in a row right now. Sharon got 3. Well, you're only 6 behind. And Doug, very nice.
Okay.
See, I'm gonna start calling Doug Civil War Doug.
Have you ever noticed in the baseball standings, they don't do this so much on the football standings, but in the baseball standings, they give you the winning percentage because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
In 162 games, different number of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what percentage a 6-4 record gives you. What percentage correct? Add 6 and 4 and get
400.
10.
400.
No, 600.
40. Huh?
Six.
Yeah,
You were
you're right.
6%
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 600.
What does 5 and 3 get you? You add 5 and 3 and you get 8,
Yeah,
and you
but-
divide 5 into 8 and you get
When
0.62, and 0.62 is higher than 0.60. I'm sorry, you did not beat me. It's a percentage answer. Okay.
Oh my.
Thank you very much. We got a math lesson in addition. And you know what? Critical thinking
We're
is
getting
about
deep here.
learning your math too,
We're getting
because
deep.
you can use your math lessons all your
We're
life.
getting deep here.
When you're a glove peddler, you do math in your head. You do markups in
There's
your
something
head.
wi'm with that.
Thank you.
There's something wrong with
Thank
that.
you. I'm sorry.
That's-
No,
That's
no.
just wrong.
Thank you. It's not wrong. It's no. Figures lie and liars figure. But
I'll have an answer on Thursday. I'll have a comeback on that till Thursday.
I can hardly wait till Thursday. God
so-
bless my soul.
There's our show for today. Thank you for being here. Doug says he's happy with being called Civil War Doug, so that's what we're gonna start calling him. Thank you for
Oh
being
my
here.
gosh.
We love having you, and thank you for writing and sharing with us your thoughts. You can reach either one of us at scott@waxahachieson.com or jeff@waxahachieson.com. If you have any questions, ideas, thoughts, comments, concerns, we'd love to hear from you that way. So until next time, hang on.
I
want
ain't
to
going
thank
anywhere.
Cancun's and Mr. Reuter for being our sponsors. We are grateful for you. And again, grateful
And
for
Sammy
you.
at the board.
And Sammy, our sound producer,
Mm.
director, everything, Mr. Extraordinaire, my son. So with that, Jeff, sorry.
And let me ask you, did you have any fun today, folks?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also remember, don't write a check you can't cash.